going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for your Overwatch. Stage 2 of Overwatch League is live. They're now playing on the live version of the game. Well, once removed from the Sombra changes and all that. But other than that, they're pretty up to date with at least the Mercy nerfs. And you might think to yourself, wow, Mercy really got nerfed into the ground, right? There's no way that the pros would still use her, but they are. I don't know the exact pick rates, but it seems to be around the same frequency as like Ana. However, where I would classify Ana as more of a counter pick, Mercy is more of a synergy pick. And we're going to show that by breaking down a few reasons why you want to play Mercy in order to enable a certain type of strategy, and in some cases even to disable something that the enemy's doing. First and foremost, I think this is one of the more common examples, but I want to break down why this is still viable. What we're looking at here is a poke control opening. If you pay attention carefully, the Seoul Dynasty tanks aren't really overcommitting into the fight. They're just sort of making some space, keeping the enemy in check in case they try to dive their friendly Widowmaker, and we're just waiting for Fleta to hit a shot. A few of them come fairly close, but with the aid of a damage-boosted Widowmaker scope, you can catch a really fast headshot on a squishy, which is important because as a target and a shot opens up for you as Widowmaker, if you have the damage amp, the time it takes to charge up your shot gets reduced significantly for it to be a lethal shot. Now, not everybody can play Widow, obviously. The pros can pull it off, but this goes for the same if we're talking about other range characters such as Pharah for sure, or Soldier 76. But overall, in general, the defensive damage amp control playstyle that Mercy enables is still really good because, of course, you always have the chance to get that mid-fight res off in order to bring up your ranged character. Why is that important for it to be paired with a ranged character? Well, of course, a character that wants to be playing at range likely is going to be dying more so in a safe place, whereas a Tracer is probably going to die in the enemy's backfield. A ranged DPS for your team is going to be dying near your backfield or kind of off to the side somewhere, so that getting a mid-fight res to keep that player up is much more viable. Here's another example looking at the map Sanctum, which is famous for showing the effectiveness of Junkrat and Orisa. And here we see the Houston Outlaws come out with the classic bunker comp with double damage amp, Zenyatta, and Mercy. And although they don't have the speed boost to close the distance on the engagement, they just kind of waddle their fortress into position, and then once they set it up, it's going to be a nightmare for the enemy to dive into. You, of course, could put a Roadhog in this comp as well, but Coolmat's so good at D.Va, he just runs that. The damage amp on either the Soldier 76 or the Junkrat is going to be incredibly lethal. A damage amped mine is going to one-shot a Tracer, and after going down a man early, the Spitfire just disengaged from this fight entirely, go for the regroup, try it again, but by then the bunker is able to get set up into close range positioning, making it even more nightmarish for the Junkrat, and the Spitfire say, forget this, man. They go off to mirror the composition because the anti-dive comp is so strong when played correctly. I think a lot of times players have it in their mind that it's your goal to dive healers. Kill the healers first, right? Well, obviously, killing a healer is a powerful play that you should try to make, but the problem is, against this bunker comp, you can't dive healers. You need to burst the threats. Because if you spend resources to go dive in to try to kill a healer, one, the Mercy has a chance to get away anyway, but two, in the time of that happening, you're going to take a pounding on the face. All of the CC of the bunker comp is going to land on you, going to get bursted down, and if you're unsuccessful in killing Mercy, well, of course, the res is going to come through, and we're going to see that in full effect as we take a quick look at the Dallas Fuel utilizing way more Mercy than you'd think. Dallas Fuel was a team that was destroyed by the Mercy meta, supposedly anyway. It seems they've learned up the strategies and how to utilize the character so that they're even using the double damage amp comp here on Nepal, and again, this does make for a controlling playstyle. They have dive tanks, but as you can see, they're not really diving, they're looking to catch the engagement, and even though the enemy successfully bursts down Custa's Zenyatta, they're able to peel back control space again and get the res off, because of course, the enemy dive comp has to use all of their cooldowns to get in on the fight. Winston's Leap, Tracer's Blinks, they use all of those resources to go get that kill, whereas Dallas Fuel catches that engagement, trades out, and then is able to res to be healthier than before. And this brings me to another point, something that I think is really important to remember when you're trying trying to use this specific comp because it looks deceivingly like a dive comp, but it's not. It's a dive control comp, which is really different. Dive comp wants to go aggressive and be the initiator. A dive control comp wants to play around the damage amp. You don't want your Mercy to heal more than she has to. You want to damage amp your range character to increase their effectiveness, and then use the mobility characters to outposition and catch the enemy's mobility characters. It's more so that those dive assets are used to counter dive because mobility is just so strong in the game. It's more like they man-on-man the enemy's dive characters to do like a mobile protect the president type strategy. It's the same idea as the bunker comp played in defense, just with different utility. And the last example I want to show actually has a combination of everything we just covered, but even more importantly, a very interesting interaction with Sombra's EMP. If you've watched Overwatch League Week 1, there's a lot of sick Sombra maps. Of course, the entire EMP farming playstyle is now null and void. I hope they update that into the pro game as well. Part of me thinks that they won't until Stage 2, however, so they'll be stuck on this patch, but the concept and the power of Sombra's EMP is still going to be a thing in matchmaking, just the way you farm it is a bit different. But in this match, they're able to take the high ground with Soldier 76. Shanghai make a big mistake in not contesting them in transition. As soon as AKM gets turreted up on the high ground with the double damage amp from range, the dive comp from the Dragons is just going to get melted. But Shanghai thinks that they have an opening into this fight because they farmed up EMP, but not really. A lot of this engagement happens out in the distance, so forgive me, squint your eyes and see what's going on here in the back. Harry Hook knows that the EMP is coming in, so I assume he's playing a bit off. So as the engagement looks like it's about to start up, he pops his Valkyrie, and the EMP comes after, but the current live version of EMP is different than this patch version. EMP does not make Mercy fall to the ground on the patch that they're running, and even though that the Shanghai Dragons are allowed to burst down the Winston, Valkyrie still gives a fairly strong mid-fight res because you're so beefed up while resing. Yes, you don't have the instant res anymore like it used to be, but it's still a pretty guaranteed res, which can definitely snowball your advantage going into a point B take on a 2CP map, because oftentimes having one kill on the defense is going to mean that they're going to be able to trickle out of spawn and eventually retake basically through attrition alone. Valkyrie is going to be very good, and Mercy in general, to close out these fights, because you can pop a preemptive Valkyrie, which somewhat is going to still be effective against EMP. It's a bit stronger on the pro patch, a bit weaker on the live patch, but either way, it doesn't outright stop the chain beam as far as I know. On the live version of the game, you're going to fall to the ground, but if you're still in the backline, that's still the support utility working, whereas Sound Barrier gets deleted entirely from the Sombra EMP. Zenyatta, if he doesn't pop Trance ahead of time, he gets deleted from the EMP, so Mercy in comparison to those two looks like a quite strong pick. You could pop Valk early from a safe distance, W-mouse one your way to brawl out on the point, get your frags, and if somebody dies, you can res them up. It's a good, clean way to consistently take point B, and I think you should keep that in mind for your 2CP attacks. Now, of course, especially on maps that have a big defensive disadvantage, I think Mercy on first, for the same reasons, when the respawn disadvantage is swapped, is good as well. So like Hanamura first, for instance, the run back from respawn is 1.5 miles, so having a Mercy that can bring back a player and equalize that is still going to be quite significant. And that's just week 1. I'm sure we're going to see more Mercy into week 2. These were some of the best examples that I saw so far. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think Mercy is in a viable state? I know a lot of players are pretty upset with how much power has been taken away from her, but overall, I think Mercy's viability is actually a bit better than it was when she had the team fight res. I know there's a big debate over which version of Mercy people prefer, but I just want everyone to remember that Mercy was almost never used in pro play other than with a pharmacy. With her old version, she was 100% picked in the Valk version, but now seems to be more of a synergy pick to enable certain DPSs and have these interesting interactions, and I'm happy with that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like. It really does help us out. Let us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're gonna want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. Also, we've been streaming every day for the past couple weeks. Check that out. Link to the description. Hit it with a follow so you get notified when our streams go live. We also announce them on Twitter. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.